Hey Elise, how's it going? I know that we talked about this in class a little bit. I'll give you my thoughts. Most of these are just opinions, so you can take them or leave them. They're suggestions, but I'll try to explain why I'm suggesting what I'm suggesting, so that it's a little bit more sensible. But otherwise, this is really successful already. You have a lot of really nice, strong poses in there. Um, so I'm just going to be making maybe like some tiny uh, tiny suggestions. So one of the things I think maybe at this stage, I really love seeing it from the side and from the front. But I would suggest that you establish a shot camera from whatever angle you want to what you want your shot to be, and that way we can really talk about poses. Because if it's hard for me to evaluate the pose purely from the side if that's not ultimately going to be what the shot camera is. Because, like, if this were the shot camera from the side, I would give notes about how the arms are kind of stacked and we're not getting a clear silhouette between the two of them. Um, but I know that this probably isn't your shot camera because this looks like a orthographic camera without any perspective. It's probably not what you're going for. So for the next submission, let's start with a shot camera. It's okay to include side and front as well, um, if you want, but really the shot camera view is going to be the most important thing. Okay, so the stuff that we talked about in class, I think I still kind of feel, and I'm not trying to create like a huge opus work for you, but maybe just a little bit more setup before the character gets their hands on the box to open the lid. You know what I mean? Also, I really like the right now your hands are kind of flat on the box, so this is just a pose suggestion that maybe you kind of get them curled up and stuff. Wow, I actually did a decent drawing of hands. What do you know? Mark it for posterity. I did a good drawing. Okay, so then also the character's head position here, because it's just dot eyes and we don't really get pupil direction. um I'm not sure. It may be more successful if their head is like turned more focused. We want the audience to be focused on the same thing the character is focused on, and the audience is really going to pick up on where your character is looking as far as like what's happening, what's the scene. Set the scene for me. So maybe we need a little bit more direct looking at the box until maybe the moment where they open the box. Because right now they're peeking in, but they could open the box and I don't know. Maybe it's better just to keep the audience directed. Some of these things, think about it. I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate the idea that they open the box and kind of turn away wincing, and they don't necessarily look in the box until later, but that would create a beat, and I really don't know how long you would want this to be. It's an idea, but maybe it's expanding the scope a little bit much, and we don't we don't necessarily need to do that if it's not going to make it significantly stronger. I want to be careful about like lateral ideas. So what's nice about this move here, I think what could be pushed a little bit more is this idea that, and I'm just looking at the center of gravity, it's kind of like coming up, which I like. I just kind of want to see that pushed maybe a little bit more and a little bit less linear. So maybe, it pushes instead of, it looks kind of like a straight diagonal right now, but maybe it pushes more like there and really up towards the end. Like there's kind of a stretching up, and a looking down into it. Maybe that pose could be pushed a little bit farther. Like it is coming up here, but then this is a surprise pose. You know what I mean? So I feel like for the storytelling purposes, we need to live in this pose just for a beat, right? The character needs to have enough time to realize what it is they're seeing in the box. You know what I mean? And then after that beat, then they kind of jump up into this pose. Yeah? Hopefully that makes sense. If there's a way to push this pose too, I wonder if there's a way to like emphasize this curve a little bit more, to have this be like a little bit more backwards leaning in this moment. It's an idea. I don't know that it's the right idea. Sometimes I'm going to make suggestions. You just got to like try it or see what you think about it to see if that's something that you agree with or that you're interested in. These are, and again, without knowing exactly like the camera stuff, but I would make this like this almost straight-legged as possible. I mean, you can give it a swoop and a line of action, you know what I mean? But I feel like hitting contrasting poses as best you can is the way to go. I just erased a horrible line. Nobody knows. This isn't being recorded or anything. But yeah. You know what I mean? Like try to get a little bit more design in some of the poses. This is great. I love this end pose. Really strong. This, you know, especially from this angle, I feel like it reads really well. This one, it's a little whatever, but again, we'll look at it from your final camera pose. There is something about, though, I lose the moment when the cat head pops up out of the box. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I think, okay. So one of the things is, it's going to help you to have flaps to open on the box or something to open. I don't know if you need help like rigging flaps that you can open, but if you need any help, I can help you. It should be pretty simple stuff to take care of. So I can teach. But I'm wondering if once the box is open, she has a reaction, and we as the audience get to like fully see her reaction and have her settle, and then the cat pops up, because then it's like we're telling the audience what to look at, right? It's like eye trace and clarity, but it needs to happen. Like her movement needs to kind of be settled at some point when the cat pops up. So like I was saying, like maybe there's a little beat here when she realizes what she sees. During this beat is maybe when the cat head could pop up, because she would be more or less still, and then an introduction of the cat head would draw the audience's eye right to where we want it to be, which is the introduction of the cat, and then she could react. Or she could go through her full reaction to what's in the box, and we're like, oh, she's pleased about whatever it is in there. And then we do the big reveal to the audience of the cat head coming up. That is 100% up to you. You can play around with it, see which one works, but really pay attention, like put yourself in the position of the audience member and try to pay attention to where your eye trace goes. Like what is attracting your eye? Your eye will be attracted to any like contrast in movement. So if everything's moving, the thing that's still will draw your eye. And if things are still, the moving element will draw your eye. And if everything is moving at the same time, like nothing will draw your eye. So it's just something to consider and think about. But I think this is a really strong first start. I really like your reference. I feel like it's strong reference. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I watch your reference, the more I'm convinced that once they open the box, the character having like a little beat like right around here, and holding that for just, when I say a beat, it's just an animation thing. It's an indeterminate amount of time. Maybe it's 4 frames, maybe it's 8 frames, but something for the character's brain to process what their eyes are seeing. You know what I'm saying? And then after the character sees it, then they get into this reaction. You know what I mean? And this reaction is like an up and then into that. And maybe something to consider is that we don't need this up pose to be such a strong, like, what do I want to say? You may not need this up pose at all to be like she comes up and then brings her hands together. Maybe from this position to this, it could be more like one fluid motion. You may be able to save yourself some frames. You may be able to save yourself some frames and some work by having that be like from the realization of what's in there into this pose, and not having this be like a waypoint. But it's okay if you do want that to be a waypoint. Yeah, it's more like a surprise, so maybe ignore it, because the problem is if we're introducing a beat here where she realizes what she's seeing, then she goes into this surprise, and then she goes into her awe. Isn't that cute? Kind of like that's the thought. Like, what the heck's in here? Oh, like, whoa, that's adorable. Yeah, so maybe it's fine. It's something to think about. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm sorry I'm not giving you like the strongest direction. It's like, do this, do this, do this. I'm more just telling you like food for thought, what my thoughts are when I look at a shot like this, when I try to figure out like what are the key storytelling poses. But this is a fine pose. It kind of shows a gleeful surprise. But yeah, I do think, yeah. Okay, I'm starting to repeat myself. Anyways, this is great. Strong start. I love it. This is be a strong thing when you're done. So keep up the good work. Let me know if you have any questions. I have office hours if you want to talk anything over, or if anything I said wasn't totally clear. But great work. I can't wait to see this move forward. All right, see you next week.